All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is November 30th. We have a decent-sized NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total, but all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comment, and I update that throughout the day. Always have those finalized by game time, guys. In terms of last night, another nice little night. 4-1 last night. Our only loss being the Sixers -1. And there's kind of a tale to tell about that one even, right? Like, I took the gamble that Joel Embiid would play, trying to get a good line, and Joel Embiid gets ruled out, and the Sixers really never stood a chance in that game. They ended up losing by, I think it was 10 points, but they were down by 20 at plenty of times during that game. So I guess we can at least explain that one, but a 4-1 night. Another cha-ching, and one note I guess you could say is on the Sixers Pelicans same game parlay that we put in. Joel Embiid was part of that, so those plus 138 odds did not end up at plus 138, but nonetheless the parlay still did cash and his leg was just voided. But let's go ahead and keep that momentum going. We're one game away in the last two nights from pulling out the money gun. We go 5-1 2 nights ago and 4-1 tonight, now on a 9-2 run. So very, very excited about that. What I'm not too excited about is another ride of the day loss. Tough one, man. This one's coming in from Nick. He had the ride of the day as Jalen Duren, a double-double, which I like this spot. I liked it overall, and for whatever reason, Jalen Duren only played 17 minutes last night. He had 6.7 rebounds. It seemed like he may have cashed this if he kept playing. He literally had more rebounds than points, but does not come through. So shout out to Nick for this ride of the day. Unfortunately, it is a loss. Unfortunately, you got to face the womp womp. But if you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to do is use hashtag ride of the day in the comments and let me know your favorite play of the day. And I'm picking one person to jump on board with, and you guys get a shout out in the next video, win or loss. But like I said, we got a decent sized slate. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at EvGuyBoston, or on X at EvGuyBoston. I'm following a bunch of people back as of late, so go ahead and check that out. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into today's slate. And the first game we're looking at here is going to be Cleveland taking on Portland. Right now, Cleveland's sitting at 11.5 point favorites. The total sitting at 220.5. This Portland team is finally getting healthy, and I shouldn't say finally, but they are getting healthy. It's not like we're waiting for them to sort of get to the tip of the iceberg or something and be a good team, but they have won 2 of their last 3. I will note that, a good win a few nights back against Indiana, I guess you could say. Cleveland, though, playing good basketball. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. They've beat some pretty damn good teams in there as well. They beat Philadelphia, they beat Denver, both games in which they were underdogs, and they're also healthy here too. So I think I do lean towards just the better team overall. Is it a big number? Hell yeah. 11.5 is a huge number to hang, and you guys know I don't love double-digit spreads, but this is a case in a Cleveland team, or a case of a Cleveland team that's, I think, starting to hit a little bit of a stride, and Portland is just a bad team, healthy or not. Like, they've won 2 of their last 3. They've covered 3 straight, but at some point that's got to give, right? So give me Cleveland at home minus the 11.5 points. I just don't see a defense that stops, pretty much anyone on this Cleveland team, whether it's Garland, Mitchell, Mobley. Like, I kind of see a fairly easy offensive game coming from the Cavs here. In terms of a total, 220.5. I don't mind the over because, again, I like Cleveland to score a decent amount of points here. I just hope Portland can kind of keep up now. To help that argument, Portland has scored, 100 plus in 3 straight games, or 4 straight games actually, which you might be like, that's not that great, 100 plus. They hadn't done that for 4 or 5 games prior to this run. So their offense has upticked just a little bit, enough to make me consider this total at 220.5. So I'll go ahead and again lean towards Cleveland minus the points and the over. Do either of those plays make it into the final plays? Kind of still iffy on both of them as of right now, but those are the directions, both of those are the directions that I am leaning in. So keep an eye on the pin comment to see if we end up rolling with anything in this game. Next game up should be a good one. We have Miami taking on Indiana. I'll be honest with you guys, I did go back and forth in this one when looking at, but I finally landed on Indiana Indiana plus the 2 points here. I like Indiana probably to win this game outright, to be completely honest, so you might want to consider the money line if you are on that side. It's going to come down to the fact that Miami is sort of bumped and bruised right now. Obviously, no Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler missing last game. Bam Adebayo is questionable in this game. Duncan Robinson also banged up here with a thumb injury. Indiana relatively healthy here, coming off a loss to Portland. They probably want to come out, get back in the win column. Miami also looking for their wins, but they had to go through New York, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. Not the easiest of last 3 games, but what I will say about this game is it is either going to come down to this being a slow-paced game or a fast-paced game. There's no in-between here. Either Indiana's going to kind of control the pace or Miami's going to control the pace. And the way things have been going as of late, this Miami team has been playing good defense, but Indiana's offense just seems way too fast. Like, their bad scoring nights are 115 to 120 points. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily see Miami getting in front of that. Now, they do play again in a few days. I wouldn't be surprised if they split these 2 games, okay? But yeah, this Indiana offense here, number 1 in field goals attempts per game, but what's great and kind of crazy is that they're also number 1 in field goal percentage. So they're shooting a crap ton, but they're also making a lot of shots, which makes sense as to why they're the number 1 scoring team in the league, averaging 127.6. Now, like I said, Miami's defense is fairly good, right? They're playing I guess you could say a slow-paced game this season. They're only averaging the 3rd fewest field goal attempts per game. So if you're on Miami, I think you're hoping for that slow-paced sort of grinded-out type game. But I think Indiana kind of controls this one. So you kind of tell I'm giving an argument for both sides here. It's either going to be one of the two in my mind. A very slow-paced game or a very up-tempo game. No in between. So I'm going to lean Indiana, trusting the faster-paced team earlier on in the season. Maybe as the season progresses, sort of the more grinded out type team prevails, but I do think that this is an Indiana spot coming off of a loss that they probably should have won that game. In terms of a total, I don't have much of a play on this total. I guess I would lean towards the over just because following the trend, like I just said, like if Indiana's going to win this game, I think it's going to be an up-tempo game, right? There's no in-between, but I really don't like looking at this spot just because, like I said, it could be a very slow game or a very fast game. Like it's a coin flip to me, so I'm sticking away from the total here, whereas Indiana plus 2 points, even if it's a slow-ish game and Miami controls the pace, I do think Indiana can stay in it. So I like them on the spread or on the money line a lot more than I do the total in this spot, because that seems like a pretty sharp line if you ask me. What I will say is it is one of the games. Now, we do have plenty of questionable guys on Miami side of things. It is one of the games that I'm looking at for same game parlays on today's slate, so we'll try and throw something out in there if we do find anything valuable. All right, Knicks hosting Detroit here. Knicks coming off of a nice win against Charlotte a couple nights back. Detroit coming off of a blowout loss against the Lakers yesterday. They were 7-point dogs, didn't even come close. They lost 133 to 107. That being said, 13.5 points you're laying as the Knicks. I don't really love this spot whatsoever. Now, do I personally bet it? Most likely not. Like I told you in yesterday's video, I kind of like Detroit with these high point total, or high, I guess you could say, high spreads that they're getting. But I don't think that I can confidently back them, right? And that's sort of the case here again. It's more or less I'm fading the number, so I'm leaning towards the underdog than I am backing Detroit getting the points, right? Like, I'm just not comfortable laying 13.5 with the Knicks. Now, we've seen them blow out, bad teams plenty this season. We saw them do it twice against Charlotte. We've seen it a couple, or actually 3 times against Charlotte, right? If I'm not mistaken, which is kind of crazy. But either way, like, this is just a number that I'm not comfortable betting, if that makes sense, right? Like, I get why it's that number. I get the reason and rationale behind it being such a big number, but by default, I'm kind of fading that number, and meaning if I'm giving a lean on this game, I'm looking at Detroit to keep this to within 13 points. Do I love it? No. It's probably going to stay as a lean, because I don't know if I could put some hard-earned bread on Detroit whatsoever. I really can't see that happening. The game total here is sitting at 219.5, and man, I have this pegged right around that. I could easily see this being like a 118 to I don't know, right around, I guess, 111 to like 105 type of a game, which is only a couple points of margin. I'm going to lean towards the under, though, just because this New York team does have a good defense. Detroit's defense isn't like terrible, right? Like, it's nothing great, but they do have, you know, some rim protection, I guess you could say. I feel like I'm like talking up Detroit in this game. I don't even mean to do that. But my main reason for the under here is I don't know if Detroit's offense is necessarily capable of putting up a bunch of points, and this Knicks offense really has been hovering right around, what would you say, maybe that like 110 mark, which is what they've been averaging on the season. So I'll lean towards the under, even though it is a low number. All right, guys, before we continue on with the slate, if you do want to support the channel and support me and get some great merch at the same time, check out the Fade Me store. It's the merch that I am rocking right now. We put a lot of work into the merch here. You can see the Holiday 23 collection that we have. We have the Santa drinking, the Grinch drinking. We got a ton of new products on the store and more to come for the holidays as well. If you still want to hang on to that, whether you're going on vacation, we got the Fadecation collection for you. We got tons of products that you guys will like. Head over to fademe.store. I'm sure we have something that you guys might like, and again, it's a great way to support what we're doing here, and you get great merch at the same time. Look at the comments of people that buy merch. This is not just YouTuber merch where we slap a stupid design on a bad quality t-shirt. These are legitimate products, legitimate designs. We've put a lot of effort into this, so you can trust that, and we have a lot of cool things, like I said, coming for the holidays. And yeah, get your orders in now, because with our traffic increase on the store, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we put the deadline of 12/10 to kind of guarantee, and even use that word loosely, right? Guarantee your orders arrive by the 25th of December. So make sure to go check it out. We have another cool design dropping in the next couple days. Sneak peek here. It's a Christmas sweater that says all I want for Christmas is to cash a massive parlay. So it's a pretty cool shirt. Keep an eye out for that. I'll tell you guys when that does launch. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the next game here. Again, that is fademe.store. Go check it out. Support what we're doing here. We got Brooklyn taking on Charlotte here. Right now, Brooklyn 8.5-point favorites on most books. At the time of recording, you can actually snag this at -8 over on FanDuel. They're the kind of the outlier here. So if you do like that and it's still there, I do think that that's a spot, because I like Brooklyn all the way here. I think this is a game in which Brooklyn dominates. I think they match up pretty well. And the Charlotte team is obviously struggling. LaMelo Ball is going to miss some time here. Brandon Miller, game time decision. This is just a team that is obviously kind of in the dumps right now, which is unfortunate because they have such a young, talented roster, the Charlotte Hornets, but I fear they're never going to really put it all together there. But definitely a fun team to watch. Maybe, I forget the guy's name now that I'm even saying it, but maybe one of the best announcers in the game as well. One of the play-by-play guys is electric. But nonetheless, I do like the Nets in this spot, -8. It's kind of a big-ish number. Like, I would have this more or less at 6.5, but I kind of get it. No LaMelo, a lot of inconsistency on the team. And this team just has not been playing great basketball, right? They've lost 2 straight games, and they've lost them both by 13+ points. So I understand why. I'm leaning Brooklyn here, -8, -8.5, whatever it will be. In terms of the total, 226.5, I'm going to lean towards the over, because I do think that this is obviously a really bad defense on the Charlotte side of things. In terms of what they're averaging, letting up per game, 122. The league average is right under 114. Now, this is the only thing that worries me, is this is a normal Brooklyn offense, especially without Cam Thomas in there. He has game time decisions, so maybe he does play and gives the offense a boost, but this is an offense that's going to score 115, right? So I'm hoping that, you know, Brooklyn playing a bad defense like this kind of has an elevation and can get into the 120s, making this almost a surefire over in my brain, because neither one of, these defenses is all that great. Now, Charlotte's a bad defense, but Brooklyn's defense allowing the 18th most points per game in this year. You know what I mean? Like, they're allowing top half of the league, I guess, or top-ish half of the league, you could say. So I like a lot of points in this game. Who's going to score them for Charlotte? That's still TBD, but I like Brooklyn to at least get to the 120. So maybe it's a team total play for them today as well. That could be something to consider. All right, San Antonio taking on Atlanta. Before we dive into it, guys, go ahead and comment 14 if you've made it this far. That's my way of knowing who the real ones are, who's part of the Fade Squad, and who is not a guppy. Because, you know, the guppies don't make it this far into the videos. The guppies, the haters on the channel, that have been very, very quiet over these last couple nights. A 5-1 night and then a 4-1 night. Like, where are the guppies? It's kind of like it's a crickets out there. But nonetheless, guys, go ahead and comment 14 if you are watching as of right now. But let's dive into this one, because this is an interesting one to me. This is one of those games where I'm like, is this a trap? Because Atlanta is a better team than San Antonio, more so because San Antonio just has not played all that great, right? They've lost a million games in a row. They've had a pretty tough schedule, which is funny to say, but I like Atlanta minus the 7 points. But it's like, why are we looking at a team like Atlanta, who I'm not saying they're playing phenomenally, but they are definitely more talented than San Antonio. They definitely have I guess more in sync here than San Antonio. And newsflash, Victor Wembanyama is actually questionable in this game. So it's like, is he going, if he doesn't play, like what, only 7 points? So maybe it's a trap. Maybe I'm putting too much stock into Atlanta. That totally could be, like, I'm just kind of, thinking that they're better than they are right now. But this is obviously a Trae Young led team, right? Well, San Antonio over the last 15 games, allowing the second most points to opposing point guards here. They're in the top 13-ish in terms of shooting guard scoring. Like this is a San Antonio team that obviously their defense is not there. Like, talk about an Olay type of a defense. That's what you're looking at. Now, Atlanta loves to score the ball, right? So I think they're going to be able to score at will. And this total's at 245.5. I would say I like the over if the number wasn't so high. Obviously, no defense in this game, and you have one team that has a really good offense. I wouldn't say San Antonio's offense is good, so there should be a recipe for a lot of points, but 245.5. Damn, what I'm more considering is some same game parlay action in this game. By the way, guys, we recorded a same game parlay, sort of my strategy video. I'm in the process of editing it right now, but very, very cool video. So I'm excited to get that out to you guys shortly. I go through literally my step-by-step process and how I kind of jot down and make note of what games I want to roll with, and then how I find the plays. So that's really cool. So I'll post that shortly. Keep an eye out for that. But yeah, this could definitely be a same game parlay potential type game, but I like Atlanta minus the 7 points as well. And if you're going to comment what's your thoughts on the total, I say I like a lot of points in this game, but 245.5 is a little bit too high. But I also don't want to take the under here, because I'd feel like an idiot with egg on my face that, yeah, two bad defenses, one of the fastest teams in the league in Atlanta playing, and I take an under. I don't think so. So probably sticking away from that. Next up, we have Chicago hosting Milwaukee, and though this might seem like an obvious Chicago play here, I'm actually going to kind of pass on the game just for now, because we do have obviously some major injuries to keep an eye on for the Chicago side of things. We have Alex Caruso, which is the lesser of the three, but DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine all game time decisions here. So I don't really want to jump into this one, because if they all play, I actually don't really like Milwaukee minus the 8 points. If they do play, if they all do play, I don't really like Milwaukee, the minus the 8 points. If they don't play, maybe I consider it, but maybe that line moves a little bit. That line is just kind of right on the fence for me of too much of a line here. Like I said, it's not as obvious as it looks. This Chicago team stinks. I understand that. I'm willing to bet that. I believe that, right? They've only covered, I think, one game in their last 6 games here. But this is still just something seems fishy about this line. So I want to wait out those injuries. I hate to, obviously, I always tell you guys, fake confidence for content. This is a game that I'm not confident in whatsoever on either side until we get those injuries. I will say, I think I can speak on the total without knowing what's on that side. 228 seems a little bit too high for any Chicago game. And this Milwaukee team, I'll give them credit that, they're obviously a fairly good offense here, but they're not playing at a crazy high pace. They're just one of the most efficient offenses as of right now. So they're shooting the 9th fewest times per game in the league right now, but they're making them at the 3rd best clip, which is kind of interesting to note, because they're putting up the 3rd most points, but not playing at a crazy pace. So, that being said, I like the under 228 regardless of injuries or who plays. If all 3 of those guys sit, it may even help the under, because 2 big point scorers for the Bulls are not playing, right? So keep an eye on the pin comp to see what we roll with. Again, I'm sticking away from this spread just because I don't like that 8 number while we have so many question marks in the air for Chicago right now. Speaking of question marks here, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Utah Jazz. We do have a couple injury notes to note here. Main one being Anthony Edwards is a game time decision. Plenty of sites right now having him as an unlikely to play spot. So if he doesn't play, I don't think that I really like Minnesota in this spot, but this spread almost indicates that he will play. But again, he missed last game with a right hip injury, and obviously, I think he played but then left last game, and he's doubtful to play tonight. So this line is kind of confusing. It almost seems like Vegas is trying to get people to jump on Minnesota without knowing all the details, if I'm just throwing a hypothesis out there. So I guess in terms of a lean, if Anthony Edwards doesn't play, I think that we look at a Utah 10.5 here. If he does play, I'm definitely not taking Utah. I would consider Minnesota here minus 10.5 because this is such a good team. Like, I'll give Minnesota credit. The defense is legit. Their offense has been, fairly efficient overall. Again, speaking of like Milwaukee and how they've played, right? This is a Minnesota team that is shooting dead last in terms of field goal attempts per game, but they're the 6th best team when it comes to field goal percentage. So they've been super efficient as well. But yeah, I think that if Anthony Edwards plays, 10.5 points is a lot to lay, especially when Vegas has this at a 221 total. Like, guys, sometimes you can look at these lines and sort of do the math yourself, right? Like, 221 is a fairly low total in today's NBA, yet this is one of the biggest spreads on the board. So it's a little fishy to me. Like, those are two things that don't really run side by side in terms of, do they correlate? So a little weird. But my whole point being, Anthony Edwards is going to be the key for this game. Doesn't look like he's going to play, so I guess if I had a gun to my head and had to make an official lean here, I would lean towards Utah plus the points in this spot. I could still see Minnesota winning, obviously, but I also like the under 221 in here as well. If Utah keeps this game close, I think we get right around that 220 number, unfortunately, so it's kind of a slight lean on the total for me. Next up, we have OKC taking on the Lakers here. Lakers coming off that win against Detroit. And OKC, just obviously a good team this season. I don't need to tell anyone that. They're 11-6 on the year, but what I love, and we've called them this for a couple years now, the rumbling covering Thunder. They're 12-5 against the spread. Now, they've had a little gauntlet that they've had to run through here the last 2 games. Losing to Philly, losing to Minnesota by a combined 7 points in those 2 games. So that is tough to see. I think they bounce back and look at a big time spot for a win today. This is just a game that I like for OKC to probably up the tempo and kind of run this Lakers team out of the building. So I'm going to lean towards OKC in this spot. I also like the over 231.5. I don't necessarily see the Lakers defense being there. They played, obviously, their guys did get some rest yesterday. I can kind of give a little bit of credit there. Anthony Davis and LeBron both didn't even play 30 minutes, so they should be rested here. But overall, they did play a game last night. They are on the back-to-back. Hopefully OKC can kind of score at will here, because this is obviously a team that plays pretty fast and pretty efficiently as well. So I'm going to go ahead and lean towards OKC minus the points, as well as the over 231.5. And, that 230 mark, if you guys are new to the channel or, haven't heard me in the past, even if you aren't new, I do kind of have like a mental benchmark of 230 being a high total versus a low total in my brain. Like, anything over that's high, obviously anything under is low. And I have a tough time pulling the trigger on 230 plus type totals, but this one I do think could get to like a 235 number. Like, I would say 120 to 123 to 112 type of a win for OKC if I just had to throw a number out there, which would obviously be over the mark. That's a 233 finish, and OKC winning by a decent amount of points. That's probably my score prediction here. What I tell you guys yesterday with this Clippers team, I didn't bet it personally, but I said that line is very interesting, and they go and rout the Sacramento Kings on the Kings back-to-back here. Today, this line makes a little bit more sense to me. Golden State minus the 5. I think that they're obviously a better team. They get Draymond back. Like, I understand that. It's just a little interesting that this Clippers team has so much talent, yet they're underdogs so often here. We have 2 teams that their records are slightly better than they're against the spread here, but I think I'm just going to lean towards the Warriors kind of by default because they are at home. So take this one with a grain of salt. This is just kind of a combination of what we're looking at here. Clippers on a back-to-back in a game in which, they do win, which is credit to them. But Paul George played 40 minutes. Kawhi played 37 minutes. James Harden played 39 minutes, right? Like, this is a game in which they expended themselves pretty severely last night. Golden State coming off of how many days rest? Let's see. When they lost to the Kings a couple nights ago, right? So 2 nights we were on the winning side of that game too. So this could be a spot in which the rest prevails, and Golden State minus 5 is the play. Total sitting at 228 in this spot. I think this game finishes right around 226 to 229. So slight lean towards the under because my prediction there has a couple more numbers under than 228, but fairly sharp line if you do ask me. So I'm going to lean towards the under, but guys, that is a very, very slightly or slight lean, I should say. This one's moving fast too. It's actually 228.5 on MGM right now, but 227 on FanDuel. Other books in the middle at 228, 227.5. So showing that there is some line discrepancy in this game here so far on the legal sportsbooks out there. So if you like the over, head over to FanDuel. If you like the under, check out BetMGM. That's probably where we'll end up pulling the trigger at 228.5, but if we do pull the trigger. But nonetheless, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. You know what? I'm asking for another call to action in the comments. Drop the emoji if you guys know what I'm talking about. The guppy emoji. Drop the fish emoji in the comments if you guys know what I'm talking about there, and show me that you're a real one, guys. And not to go on a monologue here, it's already a long video, but I will say you guys have been absolutely crazy as of late. Like, this football season, this NBA season is life-changing for me. It's channel-changing, and like I tell you guys all the time, like, I'm the idiot with the camera, the mic, the setup, the soundboard, right, the channel, but you guys are truly like the cog that makes this thing go. It's super easy getting up at 5 a.m. knowing that I'm going to be talking throughout the day to thousands of people. Like, that's inspiring. Yes, we were doing this when we were getting 2 views, you know, years ago, right? Like, we were still grinding, we were still doing it, but man, you guys make it super easy now to jump out of bed, get ready, get the videos out. So I wanted to give you guys the credit there, because truly this community that we're building, whether it's the ballers who are paying $2.99 a month, the Fade Squad, just the real ones on the channel, right? Or even the guppies that you love to watch, but you like hating on me, whatever, right? They don't boo nobodies. All of you guys, like, absolutely are the reason that we're in this spot, and we're continuing to grow, and we're not stopping. We'll have good nights like we've had 2 nights in a row, but I never get too high on my wins, right? Because we've had plenty of bad nights in the NBA season. We'll have plenty of bad nights in the future, because we're never stopping, right? We're going to the moon. We're just going to grind. But I did want to say thank you to you guys, because you guys have been absolutely incredible in supporting me, supporting the channel, everything like that. So true thank you from the bottom of my heart. I probably, I wish I did this earlier in the video so most you can hear it, but I'm doing it late in the video because I know the real ones that are still watching, you're kind of the one that I really want to get this message to, without taking away from the game picks and all that. But guys, that's all I have for you in today's video. Seriously, thank you, and we'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video, all right? Peace out.